Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Joseph Carroll. I'm an author. I write under the pen name J.R. Carroll. And today we are going to talk about my dive into Stephen King. Now, I've read all The Dark Tower, but outside of that, I haven't read any of his books. So I thought, well, why don't we just start dipping our toes into some of his other works. And today is going to be Cycle of the Werewolf. Before we get into that, I just want to let everybody know that our giveaway for 100 subscribers is still going. So for that, all you have to do is be subscribed, like, and leave a comment down below. And it's all random, so the more times you do it, the more entries you'll have, and you can win the free autograph poster. But enough of that, let's get into the review. Now, Cycle of the Werewolf is one of Stephen King's shorter books. Maybe I think it might actually be his shortest actual book. This book is probably most famous for its artwork. When they kind of re-released it, I think the original release is like an '83, something along those lines, and he put this book out, and then they re-released it with I forget the artist's name, but a famous comic book artist, and then that's when this book kind of blew up. Now, this being a really short book, I can't go too much into what actually happens in the story because I don't want to ruin it for anybody. But we'll just kind of talk about what type of story this is. And having read all of the Dark Tower, the Gunslinger was one of his very first works, all the way up until the early 2000s with the conclusion of the Dark Tower. So I've kind of got to see the span. And even though The Gunslinger was made before this book, I feel like it's a lot more technical writing in it than in Cycle of the Werewolf, because I think what this was kind of meant to be was kind of your Stephen King entry point. Everything is fairly easy to read. There's not too much suggestive things like there is in the Dark Tower. But I think this was kind of for your beginning reader. I guess in today's world, this kind of story would be would be categorized as like new adult. Because it's a little bit further on from like your typical YA. I guess YA is kind of evolving, but a mature like 12-year-old could probably read this book, and I think what you get is you just get the feel of what Stephen King's writing style is within this. The relationships and the way family dynamics and social dynamics come in far outweigh the story of the werewolf. It's main the werewolf story in itself is pretty much your straightforward old school werewolf story. He doesn't bring many new things to it, but if you've never read Stephen King, and you're kind of worried about jumping right into big pound 2-pound books or whatever, this would be a good place to start off with, because you can burn through this in one sitting and you will get the feel of what Stephen King writes like. I mean, this is his writing is more sophisticated than this in most of his books, but the style of which, you know, you feel like, you know, because he does go off on tangents in his longer books, and some of those can be a tangent of his can be the size of a small book. But he keeps that to a minimum here, but you kind of see where it's all about the people around the werewolf. That's what the whole story is about the people around the werewolf. And your main character's name is Marty. He's a 10-year-old boy who's wheelchair bound. And a lot of this goes around his, you know, how his life is and how his family dynamics are viewed, and his relationship with his father and his sister and his mother. Um, that's what this is mostly about. And you get, you know, you get weird glances into other characters, like other people in the town. Um, and so it really kind of shows you that's kind of how Stephen King writes, just on a grander scale in most of his adult books. But it's a solid read, especially if you're, you know, you have like a teenager and they're wanting to get into Stephen King. This will be a good, just throw them this one, and they'll knock it out really quick, and then they'll kind of be like, well, you know, they might ask you a few questions about it, and you can tell them, well, yeah, this is what he's like, or, you know, he takes this to another level, and if they're interested in those things or not, that can, you know, be their gateway into Stephen King. Um, so, you know, I don't want to kind of give anything away, but you know, the werewolf. There are some cool scenes in the werewolf. He describes the werewolf, you know, really well. Kind of hits all the senses. You know, the smell, the look. You know, very descriptive of, you know, when the werewolf's there, the atmosphere. So, if you like, you know, if you like werewolf stories, you know, creature features, you know, monster of the week type things, this will be a fun one to read, and just get another Stephen King book under your belt if you've already started reading. Um, but if you like it, like I said, like, subscribe, throw me comments. I answer every comment that comes through, and you know, stay with me on my march to 100, and you might be the winner. So have a great day, and be more than human.